Welcome to the Tom Bernard cast, the podcast, or whatever the hell it's called. Welcome to the Tom Bernard podcast with the family and
co-host Catherine Brandt,
Andy Brandt Bernard,
and Kristen Burt.
I don't know. I kind of like Bernard cast.
Bernard cast, the Barn cast. This segment is sponsored by North American Banking Company. Go to nabankco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Kristen Burt Entertainment News is brought to you by North American Banking Company as well. So go to nabankco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. What's going on in Hollywood, sister?
Woo! Lots of TV news because we are in the middle of upfronts right now. So we are looking ahead to the fall. CBS yesterday did their big announcement. So you have the Blue Blood spinoff is what I should say. Boston Blue is going to be on Friday nights.
You like that, Tom?
No, Tom Selleck's gone.
Oh. Tom Selleck is gone, although it is expected that the Reagan family will be making cameos. So that has been kind of talked about because, and they were very clear in the press conference yesterday that like, this isn't the last of the Reagan family that you hear. It's not just Donnie Wahlberg's character. It's going to be,
good.
The families are going to come and visit him in Boston.
I got to be honest with you. I think Tom Selleck is one of the most underrated actors out there. He's pleasant. I guess he's easy to work with. He's really good.
Is he like retired or what? He just decided he was sick of 14 years of the same show?
How old is he anyway?
80.
He's 80?
He doesn't look 80.
What? How can Tom Selleck
He is 80.
Well, if you get a big enough mustache, it hides the wrinkles, I think.
I would tell you what, I like all those Jesse Stone movies. I like all those. Those are good.
Yeah, he's looking into doing another Jesse Stone film.
Yeah.
And the show Blue Bloods was canceled because of expense, not because of ratings or anything else like that.
Right.
The cast had taken a 25% pay cut the season before. But there was just no way for CBS to move forward because everyone after 14 seasons was making a lot of money, even with a 25% pay cut.
Right. Yeah. So I guess 14 seasons. That's a long run.
That's
Great show.
Long run.
Yeah.
Great show, though. It was a wonderful show. I loved watching that show. And particularly because of Tom Selleck. I just really like the way he works in the movies, on television, all the rest of it. He's just very, very good.
Well, and it's proving that the franchise is obviously viable because they're moving through with Donnie Wahlberg. So I don't think we've seen the last of Tom Selleck in terms of that character. Right. And then NCIS is going to be an NCIS night. So if you're a fan of that procedural, that particular franchise, it's going to be NCIS Origins and NCIS Australia all on Tuesday nights, 8 to 11, I guess for you guys, 7 to 10. So that is going to be kind of a big deal. And we're getting another Yellowstone spinoff.
What?
Oh,
yeah, that's right. I read about that.
Casey Sutton.
Okay.
Oh, are you thinking of another one? Because there's so many coming.
I thought there's so many coming.
So many coming.
I thought there was one like in the 40s was the next one.
Yes. So 1944 is coming on Paramount Plus.
Okay.
The one that is coming, I was like, let me just get the one that is coming on CBS is the Casey Dutton character. So Luke Grimes is reprising his character.
Okay. And
that'll be on CBS. Plus there's the Madison with Michelle Pfeiffer on Paramount Plus coming.
Michelle
Pfeiffer is doing, it's about a hotel in Montana. They all leave New York City, but it has ties to the Dutton family. So it's part of the Yellowstone universe.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. There are so many shows. Plus they're doing a spinoff with Beth and Rip.
Oh, wow.
I wonder how far back at this point you could go just with movie or TV titles that are a year and nothing else. Because there's a whole lot of them at this point. I mean, just in the past, 5-6 years, there's been, with 1923, 1944, there was that war one, 30 something.
Right? 1923 with Harrison Ford and.
Yep, that was a good one.
There was a World War II one with the
that would be in the 40s then, probably.
Not with Taylor Sheridan because he's doing 1944.
I'm just talking about in general, the new trend of naming things after years.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's no question about it. What's interesting, Kristen, and I brought this up before, 1923 was shot about 300 miles west of where I was born. So all that stuff they're talking about and the trains going through, and they would go through Long Prairie, Minnesota, which is where I was born. It was kind of weird. I was born, and the sad part of it is, I'll be honest with you, I was born less than 30 years later. So there you go.
Didn't they freeze to death in North Dakota? Some of them.
I think so, yeah.
I'm
MB
sure
got
where
what I was
that
talking about. It was World War I, 1917.
1917.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're good. They're good movies. I like the cast. I like the movies.
They sure can. Taylor Sheridan sure can churn stuff out fast,
God,
though.
you
It's
sure
kind of
can.
amazing.
It's like a factory, though. I'm like, is he sleeping? Like, what is happening?
Does he? Is it just all Chat GPT?
Yeah, it's all AI.
I'm trying to think what else for CBS that's noteworthy. Oh, The Masked Singer. I know I'm not really a Masked Singer
No.
watcher, but I will say that it is one of their Fox's most popular properties.
Okay.
And they are taking a season off, which to me is the biggest recession indicator out there because it's still a successful show for Fox. They're going to have the next season come up in early 2026, January. But it's, in my view, it's the only game show or like competition show that Fox films in the US. They film it on the Fox lot here in Los Angeles. And you've got all of these judges, Ken Jeong and Jenny McCarthy. They're all making really big salaries. Nick Cannon is the host. This is a way for them to just like catch their breath, take a season off instead of doing 2 seasons a year. So I was like, recession indicator in full force without saying it. They're like, we just want to catch our breath and come up with like some exciting things for January. And I was like, oh no, you're cutting back.
I always wondered with that kind of show, if they couldn't take somebody that wasn't a star, but was in the industry, a respected person in the industry, and have them as judges and introduce them to, I think fans would not be upset about that. Do you have to have stars as judges?
I think so.
Honestly. Do you?
They did it with Randy Jackson on American Idol, if you remember back, because it was Paula Abdul, Simon Cowell, who wasn't familiar to U.S. audiences,
right,
and Randy Jackson. And the recognizable entity was Paula. So it can be done, but remember that was done in 2002.
Yeah, ages ago.
It worked once, though. Why can't it work? Yeah.
Was it even that late? No, yeah, you're right. 2002.
It was. Kelly Clarkson won, and then I moved to Minnesota like a month later. I remember.
There you go.
My furniture went ahead of me, and I had like this little tiny TV that I wasn't bringing with me, and I was watching like with like rabbit ears, like Kelly Clarkson win.
Well, another surprising thing is the Masked Singer can't cost if they're paying those judges, but it doesn't cost anything other than that, really.
And the celebrities do get an appearance fee too for taping and rehearsing as the underneath those masks. So it's not, it's an expensive show. Let's just put it that way. And the fact that Fox is filming everything, all of their cooking shows are filmed in Australia. And then all of their game shows like Rob Lowe and With the Floor and Shazam, again, all filmed in Ireland. So, which is, ties right back into the tax incentive that they want to somehow institute with John Voight, who's working hard on that. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, Minnesota lost a couple of corporations to Ireland because of the taxation. Yeah. Medtronics is pretty much all gone. They're now an Irish corporation.
They were huge.
Huge.
They were.
Yep.
Hopefully we can get some of that back, and everybody's battling over that again. I really wish we'd get to some point where Democrats and Republicans would just shut up about one another and try to work for the people. How about that?
I think they are with Hollywood. I'll be honest. I actually am excited that John Voight has come forward with this plan because he's made it a national conversation. You have Gavin Newsom, who obviously has a dog in the fight because we want California to have production come back. And the two of them have similar ideas. They're not like all lined up exactly, but the fact that you can have a Republican and a Democrat say, you know what, this is for the greater good of the state and the filming industry at large. Neither of them agree with what Donald Trump's putting out there. So I think that if somehow everyone can find a middle ground on all of this, this is a good dialogue to have.
What Trump is putting out for what?
Trump wants to do 100% tariffs on films that are
does he?
Overseas. But what the proposal that John Voight gave to Donald Trump was well, let's have a national tax incentive that can be stacked with the state tax incentive. So you would have double there, like a double coupon. And then the only thing he had in a clause for a tariff was if a U.S. production that could have been filmed here. So let's say it's a movie that takes place in New York City, but instead they go to Budapest to go and take advantage of their tax incentives because they're more advantageous than the U.S., then you get a 125% tariff on that film because you, as an American film filmed in New York, decided to go into the backlot in Budapest. That is your punishment for it, which I think is fair.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
I liked movies a lot better when they were filmed in California. I really did. And the Westerns were filmed pretty much in like Nevada and places like that.
You have to remember. Okay, what was that thing that we watched about the worst movies in the history?
50 worst movies in history.
Oh, you have to watch it. My mouth was like hanging open watching. How did this piece of SHI hockey stick get made? They were so horrible. Most of them were some sort of monster movie.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They were so bad. Some of the names, I was going to try to remember some of the horrible names.
Half of them I feel must have been on the Sci-Fi Channel because they always do those like Godzilla versus the shark.
Xanadu was on there.
Xanadu is so good. I am sorry. That is offensive. First of all,
no, it was pretty bad.
That
soundtrack
is iconic. First of all, the entire soundtrack, the roller skating, Olivia Newton-John looking like
I
super
love
hot.
her, but honest to God,
oh my God,
it is watch
like
some of those clips. It's like whoa,
Are you talking about
LSD nightmare, but it's so great. That's what makes it like a cult classic. It's full camp. I think it's great.
XANUD.
There's something called 50 worst movies ever made.
That's the one. That's it.
Yeah. I think that's
I saw one of them. One of the 50.
How many?
Was number one called The Incredibly Strange Creatures Who Stopped Living and Became Mixed Up Zombies?
Yes. Yes.
That's a bad title.
The top 10 were so awful. You can't even imagine. One of them, they finished the movie. The director said this movie is so horrible. He tried to kill himself.
Yeah, he tried to kill himself.
He tried to shoot himself with a gun and he missed.
Yep. Yep. Yes. That's true.
Well, Plan 9's on there, of course, because
Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Plan 9 from Outer Space has been like famously one of the worst movies ever made for
They do these
years.
Yeah, they do these clips and they give little facts about the movie and it moves really quickly and they show these clips and you're just like, what the hell am I watching?
Andy, what streaming service is it on? Where can everyone watch it?
Let's see, 50 worst movies ever made, 2004. That is a good question. Where did you see it?
I don't know.
You don't remember?
I don't remember what channel it was on. No, I have no idea.
20 years old too. There's probably a lot of other movies they can add now.
Oh, they could add a ton of them.
I would think so.
The 70s had some horse.
It's on Daily Motion if you Google it.
Oh.
I honestly don't know if it's anywhere. I think it's just like find
on
it on
TV.
the internet at this point.
Well, we have a Roku streaming thing, and we have a lot of services. So I don't know what we saw it on.
Tubi.
I think it's on. Here we go. It's on Amazon
and Tubi.
It's on Tubi. It's on Tubi too.
Oh, Tubi's free.
Tubi's free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I just pulled it up right here on on the website. So
I'm telling you need to watch it.
Catherine,
helpfully,
right there in the center.
It was also helpfully uploaded to YouTube by a guy who calls himself Ismail Corpse Grinder Montemayor. So
okay, all right,
there you go.
There you go.
I mean, look for that channel.
Yeah, Tom had it on, and I was like, "Oh, let's turn this off." And then you sort of get like drawn into
how bad it is.
Truly awful.
Part 6. I know that one.
Part 6 was on there. Yep.
Yes, almost all of these are either monster or sci-fi. Like I would say 80%.
Yeah.
Mom has seen none of the 50. I saw one of the 50 movies. That was The Incredible Two-Headed Man. And I can't remember who it was.
God. It had a black guy with a white guy's head like on his shoulder. And you could tell he was laying behind him and had his head sticking on his shoulder. Rosie Greer, was it Rosie Greer was the black guy?
Was the black
Wow,
guy?
yeah,
Like,
that is the worst costume I've ever seen in my life.
It's the worst thing you've ever. I can't even.
Candy?
no, it's not John Candy, but he looks like
lot-
John Candy.
Looks a
No,
lot like
it's not
John Candy. It's called the Incredible Two-Headed Transplant.
Transplant. There you go.
My God!
There you go.
And some big stars were in some of these horrible movies.
Yeah, they were.
Somehow
Billy
recovered.
Jack. Billy
With
Jack
a
Part
paycheck.
3.
Wait a minute. Are you thinking of the Incredible Two-Headed Transplant or the Thing with Two Heads?
I don't know.
Because
Rosie
both
Greer.
of them-
Rosie Greer.
Both of them involve a white guy and a black guy sharing the same body.
Oh
And
my
one came out in
God!
1971 and one came out in 1972.
And these black exploitation movies in the
Oh.
70s.
Let's see, Rosie Greer. That would be the Thing with Two Heads.
The Thing with Two Heads.
There you
Thing
go.
with two heads. Okay,
Yeah,
there
and
you
the
go.
black exploitation movies from the 70s. There's this
Yeah.
one former Playboy bunny.
Oh,
I don't remember
oh.
her name. And she swings a suitcase at people and they just fall down because all of a sudden she's a jujitsu expert and she's doing these horrible kicks and everyone's just flying.
That's what makes him so great.
It's so funny.
We had a ball watching it because it was so horrible
Yeah.
that it was fun to watch it.
If you embrace the camp of a really bad film, it is
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much fun to watch. And
Yep.
that's why I say Xanadu is a delight because you're not going to get mad at it.
I kind of feel that way about the Mission Impossible movies. It's like, yeah, sure, he can jump from a moving helicopter onto a speedboat and do and take out 12 people on the way down. You know, it's stupid, but you just embrace it and you think it's funny.
One thing I will tell you that's really sad about it, though, is there were some movies where the cast was pretty much black,
The
and you
black
could
exploitation, yeah.
tell who wrote it because they would literally deliver lines like, "What you be talking about, woman?"
I
I
know.
mean, who the hell says
weird.
"What you be talking about, woman"?
I know.
I mean, come on.
That's why they were black exploitation.
I
movies.
guess so. It just is. Who is the white guy? The other head with Rosie Greer. It was a white guy, and you'd know who he is too. He's a famous actor, or semi-famous anyway.
Let's
But
see.
I can't remember who it was though.
The
Yeah.
Thing with Two Heads. Let's see. It's
I
got
feel-
Ray Milland, Rosie
Ray
Greer.
Milland. That's who it
Ray
was.
Milland. There you
Ray
go.
Milland.
Oh.
Ray
Don
Milland.
Marshall is the black head.
Who
Who?
is?
Don Marshall.
I
No,
thought it was
Rosie
Rosie
Greer is the
Greer.
one we're talking about.
No, Don Marshall's just in it then. I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that works.
There's not a whole lot of information about this.
Well, they probably
movie.
tried to have it scrubbed.
Yeah.
Where can we get this? And it keeps on popping up on YouTube, and they're like, no.
Mhm.
Hilarious. Hilarious. We need to take a break. Be right back in a couple of minutes, ladies and gentlemen, right after this word. Back in a couple. From Bradshaw and Bryant, Michael Bryant. What's up, Allie?
Oh, not much. Doing my usual thing of telling people they shouldn't be texting and driving. In Minnesota, you can't have your phone in your hands. You can use, hands free, but you can't have your phone in your hands for whatever reason. And that's why they made the law the way they did, so that police officers could see a phone in your hand and you got no excuse for why you got it there.
Do people know that that's the law?
I hope so. I mean, they used to follow it, and then kind of COVID kind of made people forget. And now it's like a freewheeling world out there with cell phones.
Let's say you get pulled over because you do have a phone in your hand and you're not watching where you're going. You got to be in pretty big trouble then, I would guess.
Well, the first one's not as bad. It's the multiple ones, the problem. And once people start stacking them up, then they have a big problem. And then what we're doing in car accidents is we've started bringing motions for punitive damages, because I'm trying to use the civil law any way we can to stop this, because it needs to stop.
Whenever I'd had any problems in my life, who was that I called again? It was like an MB, something like that.
Bradshaw and Bryant.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Jack's. Yes, I'm talking about Jack's Steakhouse over in Northeast. I love that place. Been going there since I was 18 years old. So it's been a while.
Decades.
Decades, man. Jack's, family owned since 1933, an original Minneapolis steakhouse. And talking about a place to celebrate, I talked about the fact that my mother's birthday parties were always there. The last birthday party she ever had before she died was at Jack's, and we all had a ball. You can, celebrate, create memories been doing it for over 90 years. They know how to do it. It's just minutes from Target Field, too, for a post or pregame meal. Perfect prime rib would be one of those perfect meals I'm talking about. They serve steaks, chops, fresh seafood. You can even net your own trout. I love this. You can net your own trout from Jack's Garden Stream and have it prepared for you minutes later. So it's very, very fresh. You can also enjoy happy hour in a bar. Gee, I never did that at a younger age.
Mhm.
An award-winning patio Wednesday through Sunday. Private party rooms, 25 to 275 people. Perfect for weddings, groom's dinner, business dinners, or all celebrations. Weekend brunch too on Saturday and Sunday, which I love weekend brunch on Saturday and Sunday. Jack's, The Godfather, or Northeast. Andy, do you know, have you talked to Billy about when we're going to draw that first name so people get $100 off?
It's one of those things I wanted to talk about.
Oh, excellent. I want to hear about it. Excellent.
So, yeah, I think what we're going to do is we're going to do the drawing, and by we, I mean I will do the drawing on Thursday night.
Okay. Okay.
I'm going to have to whip something together to get all the names off of Twitter and then randomly pick one. And then I will announce which one got picked the following day. So
Andy's got a little work cut out from
Fantastic.
the last time I checked. There were 8,000 responses to that. You don't have to go through 8,000 names, do you?
Oh, no, that's why what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little script that just reads all that data for me. And there you go.
There you go. Good idea. That's
Should
a
only
good
take
plan.
a couple hours to whip up.
But I don't know where it is now. But the last I checked, and that was yesterday, there's like 8,000 people.
But then, yeah, so basically the deadline is some point Thursday night. I don't know. I guess I should probably say 9 p.m.
Yeah, that's
something
good.
like that. But it doesn't have to be extremely formal. Just try to get your comment in by Thursday end of day, just in case. And then
Today.
And
Today,
then
end of day.
Yes, today end of day. And then tomorrow during the show at some point, I'll announce who it was. And then we'll probably have Tom DM them and say, hey, you won, just in case.
I like it.
And that person will have to email us and get us their contact information.
Perfect.
What time zone? I'm just going to clarify so people know.
Central.
China.
And it's going to be ending now.
Things up.
Yeah, right.
Central time, 90-something% of our audience is in Central time. So, yeah.
Yeah, but
So
that's
people
a
know.
good situation.
And
That's
then
Being on the
really
West
good.
Coast, we're always like, is it 9
That's
p.m.
true, yeah.
Right.
Pacific
Yeah.
or midnight Pacific?
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to mention quick is that we are doing a migration for the platform that we use to put the show up.
Right.
I did put up an update for both iOS and Android. iOS is out. Android is just, we're waiting on them. It'll come out when it comes out. Not a lot I can do about it at this point. Should be relatively soon, though. Either way, if you have the updated or the old one, you are not going to be seeing yesterday's episode right now. That's just how it's going to be until the migration finishes at some point today, and then see it again. So if there's missing episodes, or Joe says on iTunes there's a bunch of duplicate episodes, all that kind of stuff should get itself fixed pretty soon.
Okay.
Magnificent job, Andrew. I appreciate it. So I do have a question for Kristen Burt. What in the hell is this deal with Jennifer Aniston again?
Oh, yeah.
My God.
Scary, the stalker
It
that
is.
it's one of those things too. This is what I thought was the weirdest part of the story. It's pretty common for celebrities to have stalkers, unfortunately. But to be able to get that far, I mean, he made it past her security, and I mean, the security did catch him before he entered the home. But what shocked me was that all of the news starts circling over her house. And it's like, you already have a stalker situation. Do not identify her house. It is so easy to find out where people live. And I'm sure that her personal home is under some type of trust. But the news was obviously able to nail down where that is, because they're listening to police scanners and things like that. But you're just giving bad people easier access to these celebrities.
I agree.
Yeah, no question. And Andy, you wouldn't remember this because you were too young. At least I don't think you'd remember it. But I one year had a stalker. I had to have an armed guard with me wherever I went for about, several months.
Yeah, people are great.
Jesus, it's like, calm down.
Have you ever heard the 911 call from Sandra Bullock? Now we're probably going back a decade, but a stalker had invaded her home.
Oh.
And
Inside her house.
Inside her house. So she had a panic room inside her house. Does everyone know what a panic room is?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay, just to make sure people, I'll just explain what a panic room is.
Our whole condo's a panic room.
Is it?
It's a lot of panic.
You're like, I live in one. But essentially, a panic room is like a hidden closet where you can go and hide and be safe in case there are intruders, just so people, if they didn't know what one was. So she went into her panic room, was calling 911. And the crazy thing is that her nanny, because I guess Sandra had been out that night, and her nanny's like, why don't I take your son just to sleep over my house tonight, and that he can get a full night's sleep and we don't have to worry about it. So her son just happened not to be in the house that particular night, which was such, I mean, timing. You're like, that's such a blessing.
Yeah.
And then the guy who eventually was arrested, I mean, and you can hear the terror in her voice. She is panicking.
Oh, yeah.
Understandably so. I mean, a natural reaction, but he had intent to rape, bind, kill her. I mean, all of that. He had all the tools necessary, had a huge, massive sexual assault history. It was awful.
Didn't he was he convinced he was married to her, right?
I think a lot of them are. They think that they're dating, or they think that they're in love with them because mentally they are not well, and think that they're communicating through their dialogue in a film.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
I got to tell you one thing. As I tell you, I get messages on my watch during the show. Somebody replied, Jennifer Aniston's okay, but she's no Kristen or Catherine.
Thanks, I guess.
Thanks,
I'm not sure.
My hair today is good, and Jennifer Aniston has good hair, so I'll take it. Because yesterday I looked like an egghead, so today the hair is much better.
Egghead? I don't remember the egghead.
Yesterday, I remember I was like, before the show, I'm like, I look like an egghead. It just looks
I think
like
it was in your imagination.
I do too. I do too. Honest to God, it's so horrible. These people, you become famous and all of a sudden you get stalkers. And I mean, even a local radio show. This person, I guess, followed me around for a long time, and I had to have an armed guard the whole time. It was very weird.
Yeah, and that's where you have to be careful with social media too.
Yeah,
because
you do.
Oftentimes we film in our homes, and you have to really start thinking like, I shouldn't be photographing any of my entryways, like front doors or patio doors, things like that.
Right.
And your bedroom, definitely not.
Yeah.
And, it's okay if you maybe film in your kitchen or film, in a studio that, everyone's recording, but you have to be really, really careful about those things.
See, the sad part of it that I do remember now, I haven't thought of this in years, but we lived on the farm out in Dayton. So we had a very long driveway, had a gate and a very long driveway. And all the kids that showed up on Halloween, they were trick-or-treating on Halloween. Half of them got up the driveway, which is about 400 feet, something like that from the road to our house. Sure. They got up to the top of the hill and saw a police car sitting there. So about half of them turned around and left.
What are your parents up to?
Exactly.
My God.
It's weird having to have a cop car by the house for trick-or-treating. Jesus.
Well, that's really scary too. I mean,
it's terrible.
Even you already have the scary situation of like, hey, someone is threatening me. Now you have a guard, but that still is just unnerving, even though they're there to protect you. The fact that you have to live like that is unnerving.
Right. No, that's exactly right. It's really unfortunate. But women, what is that? That's like 99% of it, isn't it? Women that get stalked.
I personally, I don't know if you ever feel this, Catherine, being a woman. It's one of those situations. Sometimes you just feel threatened sometimes because someone's walking too close behind you, and you're just like, why are they? Yeah. And there are times that as a woman, and listen, I'm 5'3". I can kick really well, but if someone's going to grab me, they're going to grab me. I'm just not that big. So oftentimes I'll cross the street if I just feel uncomfortable or get a vibe. And I'm sure 99% of the time it's nothing, but
you can't be too careful.
You can't be careful. True. And I always think of that one particular Oprah Winfrey episode. It was Gavin DeBecker. He's a big security expert. And he wrote a very famous book too. He's like, if you feel like intuition wise, something's wrong, it usually is listen to your gut. And he was also the person that says, if you get kidnapped, do not let them take you to the second location. Do everything you can to get out of that situation. If you have to jump out of a moving car, you jump out of a moving car.
Today, I'm going to do my job and get you out right on time. What do you think of that? Because yesterday was like 7 minutes late.
Oh, it was? I think just because there were so many of us too, we were all talking.
Yeah, and Don was
maybe.
on.
Yep.
I love Don Shelby. He's a wonderful guy.
That was a delight.
He's a great guy, but I will look at that. It's noon, right? Or 11 o'clock or whatever the hell time.
9.
9 o'clock where you are. Exactly. Kristen Bird Entertainment News brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabankco.com to learn more. Member FDIC equal housing lender. So we will talk to you tomorrow. It's Friday tomorrow. It'll be great.
Yes. And Poker Face has returned for season 2. Peacock today. So you can go and watch it.
Every time you say that, I think of poker, my poker face. No.
Little Gaga.
Lady Gaga. She went off the deep end again about something. What was she mad about?
I think she's always been off the deep end.
Yeah, she's very upset about something. Maybe
she's a great artist, though. Her music.
Yeah, she is. No,
I think her concert was canceled because of something.
Yeah, there was a bomb threat. Okay, that's fair. Yeah,
in Australia, maybe.
Brazil. They were in Rio, and it was a free concert. 2.5 million people were there.
Yes,
so bravo to all of the Rio authorities that thwarted that attack, because that would have been devastating.
Yeah,
indeed. I tried, but you're a minute late now because of you. It's your fault.
Lady Gaga.
Poker Face. See you guys tomorrow.
We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks a lot. The segment is sponsored by North American Banking Company. Go to nabankco.com to learn more. Member FDIC equal housing lender. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. Some great people coming on. Walter Hudson's going to be on with us. Michael Bryant's going to be on with us. Should be great.
Fur might fly.
Fur might fly. Exactly. We'll be right back. Why should your business bank with North American Banking Company? Here's Brian Thiel, president of Abrasives of St. Paul.
What I like best about North American Banking Company is the small town feel with great products and very good service. And I love the people. I would definitely recommend North American to other business owners. A lot of banks I could choose from, and North American Banking Company is the one.
So why not bank where I bank? With my friends at North American Banking Company. Go to nabankco.com to learn more. That's nabankco.com, or stop by any one of their 6 Twin Cities locations. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. For Bradshaw and Bryant, Michael Bryant. Michael, what's up?
Dealing with another case where a person gave a statement to the adjuster because they thought the person was really friendly.
Is that a good idea?
Well, the problem is they know the law when they call you up. And while you're trying to be fair and you're trying to get help, the reality is there are questions you get asked that the way you answer them make a big difference. And people put themselves in trouble. And when they aren't in trouble, they didn't do anything wrong, but suddenly the adjuster's got a statement that can blow up their case completely.
What has caused people to be so untrustworthy, I guess is the best way I could put it? They take advantage.
Well, insurance companies have hired adjusters whose job it is to deal with unrepresented people. So they're supposed to kind of lure them in, call them every day, see how they're doing. And people are like, oh, I'm doing pretty good. Where the reality is they've kind of adjusted to their problem that they've got going on. So it's not that they're completely better, but the way they say it gets to be a problem. And that's why having somebody who can explain your rights, represent you, make sure that you understand the law before you give a statement can make a big difference in your case.
Michael Bryant, Bradshaw and Bryant. We're rocking out, man. That's all I have to say. Ladies and gentlemen, this part of the show brought to you by Mr. Money Talk, Josh Arnold. Call Josh today for your free 48-minute evaluation at 952-925-5608. Walter Hudson will be in soon. Michael Bryant, I think, is out in the parking lot on his phone. As soon as he's done with his call, he'll be coming in too.
All right, then.
So what's going on? Anything good?
Mike Bryant just got here. Look at that. I will go get him set up.
Oh, did you bring your dog in today, Andy?
Yes, I did.
Daisy?
I saw Daisy walk
What's
by.
Daisy doing there?
I don't know why Daisy's there, but it all works out in the end. It all works out in the end, ladies and gentlemen. Andy's in there moving Michael Bryant around. So, Catherine, what's going on? What's the latest?
Oh, my goodness.
What are you looking at?
I'm just looking at the headlines.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders defends private jet use in campaign tour.
I saw that. I have to do it. I must do it. That's what he said.
Well, like I said, if we're all really going to die of climate change, and it's a fact,
that's
right?
what they're saying.
According to Bernie, then he should be doing jumbotrons instead of showing up.
Yeah, I would think
personally. These
not a bad
rallies,
idea,
I think, but that's just me.
But a bad plan. I think you're probably right about that.
What else is new? Let me see what's trending. The ACM Awards are going to be tonight. ACMA Awards. What's that?
American Comedy Music Association.
American
I don't know.
Country music.
Oh, country music. I
Country
should have known
music
that.
is going to be today.
That's a pretty good show, isn't it?
There we are.
Hello.
Yeah, if
I don't
remember.
know. I don't think I've ever watched the Country Awards, but they're tonight.
I have a question for you. Does anybody in Rhode Island or Boston listen to country music? Probably not.
I don't.
Boston, I wouldn't imagine.
No, but I don't think Rhode Island would either. Michael, what do you think?
We'll see if I ever get my mic off.
It's on.
It's on.
Oh, it says it's
I
it
can
says
hear you.
muted.
But that's-
well, hello.
That's how streams are.
All right.
They just get streamy like that. So what's going on, Michael Bryant?
Not much. Just got a hearing out in the parking lot, so I made it in as quick as I could.
You had a hearing in the parking lot?
Yeah, it was by Zoom.
Oh my God. I got to mention this quickly. We won't spend a lot of time
So
on it. But
what's the baby Jude walking around?
That's Daisy.
Yeah, but it looks like Jude.
I know
Just
she has
a
the
little,
exact
you know?
same coloring. It's weird.
Yeah, like a little version.
Yeah,
you
it was
know?
completely coincidental.
Yep, it's true.
Yeah.
So what's happening?
Not much. I was,
Same old deal.
just got here and looking forward to another very exciting day.
Just to be in on the show, on the
Just being
Tom
on the
Bernard
show.
show.
It's a highlight of the day.
Is that exciting?
The Twins
Absolutely.
won.
The Twins
Twins
did
won,
win yesterday. Red
Yeah.
Sox won. Celtics choked it up again.
Did they really?
Yeah, they were up by 20 and they lost last night.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's a day game today.
For who?
Orioles at Twins.
Orioles and
Oh, the
Twins.
day game. Yeah, right.
Mhm.
What's the situation with the Timberwolves? They lost too, didn't they?
Yeah, they lost. They did not. They shot horribly. Ant was 0
Oh.
for a lot. We were 0 for 16 at one point on 3-pointers on
Oh.
Tuesday night. And what was amazing was Steph Curry went out in the third quarter, and he's apparently might be out for the rest of the series.
Oh.
And they just took it to us. Green was hitting from the outside, and we weren't, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
So it's been how long? It's been since what, 1959, since the Minnesota basketball professional team has won a title?
Oh, sure. Yeah, the Wolves have never won a title.
They've never won a title.
They've been close. They've been within one series. It would be twice now, I think. I think the Sprewell season and then last year. I think those are the only two. And they've made the playoffs, tepidly. Although the last couple of years they've been doing it regularly in the playoffs, but when it comes down to it, Finch is not anywhere near the coach that Kerr or some of the guys are.
Yep.
There was a couple times. I mean, you can see as soon as the Wolves started to come back a little bit, Kerr would call a timeout on Tuesday night, and the Wolves don't do that. They don't take that momentum away by calling timeouts at certain time periods that would be helpful. Plus, Ant is so in love with the three-pointer, and Catherine hit as many three-pointers as Ant in the first half.
You know what I find funny about the basketball season? Because, like I said, ever since the Lakers left and went to Los Angeles, I have no interest in the NBA at all because it pissed me off so much. But I find the whole thing so interesting. To watching guys like my friend Meat Sauce and Chad Hartman and all these big-time basketball. Boy, do they get pissed off at the Timberwolves.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a lot to be pissed off about, I mean, that crowd was so into it to start the game on Tuesday night, and then by halftime, they were all booing the Timberwolves. So,
they were booing the Timberwolves.
I guess I was part of it. So.
Oh, you were there booing? Were you booing?
Yeah, it was horrible. They had a horrible half. It was ridiculous, and they just kept throwing up bricks from the outside.
No, you must miss Jesse Ventura because he's not at the games anymore, is he?
Yeah, I miss him.
Oh, he used to stand up screaming FUs and everything. I remember. Oh God, yes, he would get up screaming the F bomb, and
that was a long time ago. He only he would have seen the Garnett years.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
I think he was still there during the Sprewell Cassell season that they had, I think. But that was actually during a different, because he used to sit actually across the other section from me. I was right behind where Kirby Puckett was sat, and he was over. So,
basically, Jesse and Kirby Puckett, and Jesse moved to, I don't know, Zimbabwe or something. I don't know. He lives somewhere else now. And
Zimbabwe. Everybody moves to Zimbabwe.
Yeah,
something like that.
You sit in the front row with Marv and Harv.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
The original owners.
The original owners of the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's exactly right.
The Wolves back, or who owned the Lakers back in the day? Do you know?
I did, and I can't remember. It was, oh God, I know who it was. It was a very Minnesota name, and you can look it up. It was like Hanson or Johnson or.
Who am I trying to look up?
The original Minnesota Lakers owners.
Minnesota Lakers owners. I had to email Walter a link because he is stuck at the Capitol.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Ben Berger, Morris Chalfin, Bob Short.
Bob Short. That's who I was thinking of. Yeah,
that's
Bob
right,
Short.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all, and I think they sold them for next to nothing.
Yeah, to the Lakers, to the
Los
LA
Angeles.
Lakers.
Unfortunately, it's true.
I don't know. Bust by them right off the bat.
I have no idea. Probably, that's what I'm thinking. So, do you see any hope for them this year in the playoffs? Because, like I said, both Meat Sauce and Chad Hartman are not too happy so far.
It's a really big game tonight. I mean, this is a home game. They can't give up 2 at home. Where I think maybe the Celtics can come back after losing 2 at home. I don't think the Cavs will come back. They lost 2 at home, and the Wolves can't do that. They need to come back. They need to win tonight. I mean, you can't lose to them with Steph not playing at all, with Steph completely out. Right. I mean, Buckets is good, but, Jimmy Butler is very good. But that being said, they should take it to him tonight. And they should Gobert should have a huge game. He should score 20 tonight at least.
Are they at home or on the road?
They're at home. Yep.
They're at home. You going to go?
Nope.
You're not going?
I got other commitments.
You have lawyerly duties?
I have more hearings in the parking lot.
Yeah, there you go. That's got to be good news. I don't know. It's just one of those situations where, I'm a huge Twins fan. I love the Vikings. I have to adjust to the fact that my Lakers moved to Los Angeles. It's only been about 65 years now.
Yeah,
something like that. Happened 65 years ago, and I'm still pissed off. But I don't know. I just I do love my Twins, and the Twins are playing better than everybody thought they would. They're not playing the best teams in the league. They played Boston pretty well. Boston won 2 out of 3, I think.
No, they took 2 out of 3 on the Boston. So
they did. Okay.
The East is playing horribly this year. I mean, the Red Sox are at 500 and they're only a game and a half out. So,
really?
it's a different East this year. Yeah. Orioles don't have it going. Tampa Bay's not doing anything, but they're playing. Tampa Bay's playing in the Yankees minor league stadium. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. Because their stadium blew down.
It did?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know about this. What, a hurricane over the springtime or what happened?
So, they're not in their own field. So they're playing at that Yankees Steinbrenner Field in, where is that? That's in Winter Park. I'm not sure.
Could be Winter Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be right. That could be right.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. Like I said, eventually I'll get over it, and I suppose I'll become a Timberwolves fan. But it's going to take a couple more years. I think I'm going to have to be, of a certain age. That's all there is to it. And I have not talked to Louis Nanny in a couple of years now. It's been a couple of years since I talked to Louis. That's weird.
We went out to dinner with him last year.
Yeah, last year he was down there.
So we went out last year. Not this year. We haven't seen him at all.
No, we haven't.
I did talk to him on the phone several months ago, but we never did get together. Got on an airplane.
He's always traveling.
To go to Minnesota last week or a couple of weeks ago, whenever it was, and right across the aisles, Glenn Mason. I didn't even see him. Catherine saw him. I didn't even see him.
Yeah, he's right across the aisle. I'm like, I think that's Glenn.
It turned out to be. But I don't know anything about hockey. You played hockey, didn't you?
I did. And,
I thought you did, yeah.
And the Wild is doing their usual playoff first round. See ya. And they just haven't been able to put anything really together. So
what was their best year whether it's the old North Stars or whatever?
Yeah,
they've never won a title.
They've never won a Stanley Cup. Let's see. I'm trying to think what would their best years be. I don't have they gotten to the Stanley Cup? They may have.
Oh, they may have
in the game right before the Stanley Cup. But I can't remember if they've actually lost in the Cup. I don't think so. And then, right after the Stars moved, the Stars won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, of course they did.
Yeah.
Of course they did. No question about it. And hey, look, I had wonderful, when Catherine and I used to go have dinner with the Nanny family when he was the general manager of the North Stars. So they'd have that dining room up on the second level, and we'd have dinner and then watch the game. And that was a lot. I didn't know a damn thing about. Look, there were like 3 kids in my neighborhood in North Minneapolis that played hockey.
Uh-huh.
The rest of them have no idea how that shook out or whatever. Oh, some very, very authoritarian guys walking around.
Oh, there's Walter.
There's Walter right there. Walter, can you hear us?
Yep, absolutely. How you guys doing?
Oh, so you're too busy to come in. Is that the situation?
Too forgetful, unfortunately. Things are crazy down here at the Capitol.
So what's going on, Matt? It's going to be interesting having an attorney and a politician on talking about the situation in Minnesota at the same time. That'll be good. Mike Bryant's here. Walter Hudson's with us, and the family, of course. So what's going on?
Well, it's a good question. A lot of stuff is happening behind closed doors. Rank and file members such as myself are kind of hurrying up to wait, right? That's the situation right now as these final deals are struck between leadership and conference committees and the different committees and what have you. We'll see how things land. Normally at this point in the session, you would expect things to be a lot busier than they actually are.
Oh, really?
Breaking news, a pope has been selected.
Oh, they have selected a pope? Really?
Yeah, white smoke came out today. 3 minutes
Well, there you go.
I want to ask
That's
Walter
eventful.
Hudson. Let's see, this is a good question to ask you. Do you find it offensive that when they don't pick a pope, it's black smoke? When they do pick one, it's white smoke? Aren't you upset about that, Walter?
I bet somebody is. I bet somebody's actually
I knew you'd come through on that one. I
Great
appreciate it.
answer. Somebody's always
I
offended at
bet
something.
somebody is. So what do you got? Who is the Pope?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We just know that there's white smoke. Yeah.
Oh, there is white smoke, so they did pick one.
Some bishop tweeted, "White smoke rises. The Cardinals have chosen a new pope," but we don't get to know until I don't know when.
He will appear soon at the central window of St. Peter's Basilica.
There you go.
Okay.
I want to run this by both Walter and Michael because Catherine showed me the hall at which they're voting.
The Sistine Chapel?
The Sistine Chapel.
Yeah, pretty.
This place must have cost about $5 billion. Where'd all this money come from? Because I grew up Catholic. I'm a nice Catholic boy and all the rest of it. But
Well, it was made a long time ago.
It's historically, it was made a long time ago.
Could never do that now.
oh, look who's sitting still now. Walter actually found a spot to sit down. That's a good thing.
and plug to plug in too, thankfully. Otherwise, you'd have lost me.
Oh, yeah.
Everything worked out beautifully.
Yep.
So, Michael and Walter, what do you think? Will the new Pope is going to make the world better or worse?
Depends on who it is.
I guess, yeah. That's a,
Cool.
yeah.
I mean,
It'll be there's 3 different competing companies.
Company.
maybe that might
Practically
be.
true.
One of them has some roots in Wisconsin, so it'll depend on who they pick and what his background is and what his ties are, and those are the big issues there. So
Does the Pope have any? Because when I was a kid going to St. Joe's over in North Minneapolis and then St. Anne's later on, the Pope actually had an international voice, even in politics.
I think he still does.
Yeah,
Is that still the case? That the Pope does have a big political voice?
he has a voice. I mean, he's listened to. Statements that are that are listened to by a large percentage of the world. So yeah, he's still a big national figure or international figure.
Yeah, international, I suppose. Walter, what do you think?
Well, it depends on who it is. I mean, different popes have taken different
Right.
approaches to how political they're going to be, and if so, how they're going to fall down ideologically in terms of what it is that they're advocating for. Personally, in the contact that I have with Catholics, both in my district and around the state, there is much more disagreement among the faithful regarding politics and regarding the conduct of the various popes in their time than you might at first think, than outsiders such as myself might imagine. I think we often imagine that the Catholic community is this monolith that walks in sync and just all think the same way, but that's absolutely not true.
Yeah, I grew up Catholic. Like I said, Catherine did as well. And our kids really didn't. They kind of grew up.
I mean, yeah, we did.
Well, I suppose you kind of did.
Depending on how you look at it.
That's the way. I mean, back in North Minneapolis, that was a very, very big deal to be a Catholic or whatever. There weren't a lot of Protestants living in my neighborhood because they had too much money.
Our children were free-range Catholics.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Michael?
I was wondering where you're going in North Minneapolis with the process.
No, honest to God, there were no Protestants there. It was all Catholics, black people and Catholics. That's what was there. It's true. And I loved it. I still love it to this day. I have great memories of that whole situation. But the first thing I think of, and I'll be very honest with you, and I'm very serious about this, when I hear there's going to be a pope picked, I think of my mother, Toots, because she was a big time Roman Catholic, and boy, she had the crosses and the this and the that. She had all that stuff in the house. She was very, very proud to be a Roman Catholic woman. You know, it was nice. I put it that way. I mean, she didn't get too severe over the whole thing and all the rest of it, but I don't know. I loved growing up where I grew up. It was a wonderful, wonderful time, and I wish people could get along better like we did. And that's the funny thing about it. It's the poorest neighborhood in Minnesota, always has been. The racial mix in North Minneapolis was by far the first, intermingling of different races, I guess is the way to put it. But it was a wonderful place to grow up because of that. A lot of the things that happened in that neighborhood later became possible in maybe some of the outlying areas of the state or the 5-state area or whatever. It's going to be interesting to find out who it is. Because I got to be honest with you, I used to know this when I was a kid, but I have no idea. You don't run for Pope, do you?
Sort of. It's internal.
Yeah, you campaign. That's for sure.
When you
do you campaign?
Watch Conclave. It's actually a pretty good review of some of the internal stuff that happens there.
I guess so. That's probably the case. So where's the state of Minnesota? And this is both for Walter and Mike. Where's the state of Minnesota headed? Are we headed in a positive direction? Is everybody unhappy? I mean, what's going on?
Well, I would say we're trying to slow down the direction that we've been headed, which has been, to my mind and judgment, a very negative space in terms of both fiscally and policy. I mean, the number of mandates that came out of the Democrat trifecta over the past couple of years are just devastating. And a lot of them haven't even kicked in yet. But once they do, it's going to be incredibly detrimental to our businesses and our school districts. I mean, you're seeing, after this so-called historic funding that was passed in the last term, you're seeing school districts all across the state having to make deep cuts in their budgets. And it's because we gave them money, but we also micromanaged every dime of it. Like, schools really don't have a whole lot of choice in how they operate based upon what comes out here in St. Paul. We try to act like the state school board rather than trusting local communities to govern their own affairs.
I don't understand how Walz just, 2 years ago, said that our schools are finally totally funded. There was no dollar sign in front of that. What it meant was, I guess, up to whoever was writing budgets or whatever. But how did we go from fully funded, finally fully funded, to having to cut education? I don't understand.
Yeah, well, it's because my school district's a good example. So my kids go to the St. Michael Albertville schools, STMA, we call it. And yeah, they got more money, but they also got 65 plus new mandates. And so the analogy that I use is, it's kind of like going to your boss and asking for a raise. And instead of giving you cash, he gives you a bunch of gift cards to stores you don't shop at. Like,
there you go. That's
basically what we did. What the legislature did to Minnesota the last 2 years to our school districts is we gave them this money, but told them you can only spend it on this, and this, even though you might need something that's in none of those categories. So that's why they find themselves in a position where they're having to make cuts because they don't have the flexibility to use their funds in the way that they'd like to. For example, this universal school lunch thing, we're going to,
Nope, he froze. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take a break right here, because we're going to take a break.
Hopefully he can join us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll be right back in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Does thinking about retirement make you uncomfortable? Sometimes the anxiety for wondering if you saved enough can be overwhelming. But what if I told you that you could ease those tensions in just 48 minutes? My guy, Josh Arnold, Mr. Money Talk, can sit down with you and get you on the right track for your financial future. Josh has navigated it all when it comes to uncertain market and economic conditions, and he'll always provide straight talk. Never sugar-coated advice on how to reach the finish line with your retirement goals. Don't let your financial worries give you an ulcer or keep you from calling Josh right now. His 48-minute no-obligation consultation could be just what you need to feel better about your future. Call Josh today at 952-925-5608. Set up your free 48-minute no-obligation consultation. That's 952-925-5608. Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC Security Investment Advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments must involve risk. You know that. All comments and opinions of Josh Arnold's do not constitute investment advice. I am a paid endorser. Oh, I could do a live here. That'll work. Ladies and gentlemen, extra is ordinary in Sioux Falls. Just look at the numbers. In addition to having a business-friendly tax environment with no personal, corporate, or state income tax, Sioux Falls is growing, has a large, well-educated workforce, cost of living is low, and with a central location and developed industrial parks, so is your cost of doing business. That's very, very important, obviously. Contact the Sioux Falls Development Foundation to connect with tools and resources to stop searching for a perfect business site and start growing in Sioux Falls. It's number one most affordable city, according to Empower. Number two best job market, according to Smart Asset. And number three in economic strength by Polycom. Sioux Falls ranks first in the nation for total bank assets with $3.5 trillion. So doing business in Sioux Falls is a great idea. Sioux Falls is one of the most business-friendly states in the country, and the place to take advantage of those incentives is Sioux Falls. As the state's largest city with a metro population over 290,000, Sioux Falls has, like we said, low business costs with a high quality of life. There's no state or corporate personal income tax either. There's no inheritance tax, no limits to what your business can achieve. It is the number one best small city for business and careers, according to Forbes, the number two best state business tax climate, according to the Tax Foundation, and the number 5 top state for e-commerce, and that's according to Nexus. We're rocking out, man. Following brought to you by Bradshaw and Bryant, personal injury lawyer seeking justice for the injured. Contact Bradshaw and Bryant at MinnesotaPersonalInjury.com. So you got cut off for a second there, Walter. You froze up on
you
us.
froze up.
Sure. Sorry about that. Yeah, so it's interesting listening about Sioux Falls, and it makes me wonder, how can they afford all those roads and bridges and infrastructure?
That's very true.
No personal taxes and no income taxes and no inheritance tax. That's fascinating. So yeah, what I was saying is that the mandates have put schools in a position where they have money, but they can't decide how they're going to spend it. And what I find really fascinating is the contrast there between how we micromanage these units of government, units of local government that have elected officials, school board members to oversee them, and administrators and teachers who care about the kids and want to get the job done. We treat them with suspicion as if they're potential criminals and that they can't make decisions on their own. And we have to tell them how to spend every dime. Mm-hmm. And right alongside that, we're handing out cash to these nonprofits, not scrutinizing them hardly at all. And we're seeing hundreds of millions of dollars worth of fraud as a result. There was another story that broke today about a fraud involving housing support services and Medicaid fraud. We just had a committee hearing on that this week, Medicaid fraud, and the Attorney General's office showed up to talk about what a wonderful job they're doing. Well, things are leaking through the cracks.
Walter, how many mandates did you say that they put on the schools? 60?
65 plus.
How do they come up with that many? I mean, that's a lot.
Well, that's one thing you'll learn. I mean, earlier you asked me if I'm offended by the black smoke. One thing that
I'm glad you remembered that.
One thing that I've learned down here is that there's no idea too crazy for somebody to take seriously. And they firmly believe and have articulated many, many times, the Democrats down here in the legislature, that in order for schools to function properly, they need to be told exactly what to do in almost every arena, certainly when it comes to financing. So, yeah, I mean, there's nothing, if you give them an idea of, hey, we should force schools to do X, Y, or Z, chances are they're going to be for it.
You know what I find interesting about that, and, Michael, you know this, talking to you about this many times before, that I grew up a Democrat and I tried to be a Republican as well later on in life. And then I kind of moved to the center. I get along with Democrats, I get along with Republicans, but I do not get along with the far left or the far right. When things get too extreme on either side for me, it's like, would you calm down? We're all in this together. Can we work together ever? Both of you, I'd like you to comment. Can we ever work together?
I think we do on occasion.
Okay.
It usually doesn't get highlighted. Like the drama is what makes for the headline.
That's true.
But the other point that I'll make is that, at least in my sense, it seems as though in our nation's past, we had much more in common in terms of fundamental beliefs about how the world works, what our worldview functions as, and what we see as a measure of success and pursuit of happiness. Nowadays, there are irreconcilable differences. Like there are things that you have to choose one way or the other. There is no middle ground. For instance, the issue of boys playing in girls' sports. That's either something we're going to allow or we're not. Like there's no compromised position there. You have to pick one. And there are issues that are like that, where it's more of a binary, more of a yes or no, that seem to be at the heart of a lot of the irreconcilable impasses that we find both here in this state legislature and around the country.
Michael, what do you think?
Well, I think that historically we've been able to work things out. The more that people come from a background of believing in what's best overall for the country, or best overall for the state, or best overall for whatever unit it is, makes the biggest difference. The more you get into certain pockets where people, are ideologically opposed because of things that to me really aren't that important.
Right.
I understand, the outrage with some kid who can strike out more girls than anything else, but in comparison to the other problems in the world, I'm not gonna burn a bridge because of that.
What I really like is looking back. Then again, growing up in North Minneapolis, and I've talked about this several times, but I love to reference it because it did happen. When I was a little boy, probably in second or third grade, I went to my friend's house, and his grandfather was in town, and I didn't know that. His grandfather answered the door when I knocked at the door. And I said, or blah, blah, and blah, blah, home. He goes, I have to ask you a question first. I said, what's that? He said, are you Italian? I said, no. And he shut the door. So we've come a ways, is what I'm saying. You couldn't even be like, you're Irish, you're Italian, you're this. So we have come a ways anyway. People don't get locked out because they're not Italian. I think maybe they do. Maybe they do still. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't.
Question I have for Walter. So this is your second term, right, Walter?
Correct.
So what did you find like most interesting as someone who came in to your first term? Now you've gone for a second term, which is usually still kind of honeymoon as far as where most voters go. What's been your feeling as far as getting into the legislature and actually being on the inside versus being on the outside as far as some of these issues go?
It is an uncomparable educational experience. I mean, being a state legislator is kind of like having a skeleton key to the state, because you get to have conversations about issue areas that you never would have contemplated before. And you get to talk to people with vast amounts of experience in those different subject areas, and you get to learn a lot about other people's perspective. And I think the thing that surprised me the most is how my own opinions and, to an extent, worldview didn't fundamentally change, but certainly expanded in terms of understanding issues in a way that I didn't understand before. And I'm fairly certain I couldn't have understood before because I didn't have access to those conversations and to the level of information that we go into depth with here in our committees. For instance, public safety. We talk about crime all the time. The controversies in Hennepin County surrounding Mary Moriarty and restorative justice. And similar to the question we were talking about earlier, the things that make the headlines are the most explosive and details. However, what I've come to discover is that at the heart of that concept of restorative justice, of trying to set people up so that they can live productive lives and be productive citizens as opposed to recidivating and continuing to commit crime, there is something there. There is a baby in the bathwater that's worth preserving.
That's wonderful to hear, actually. So we do have a future. Sounds like.
I hope so.
I hope so, too. I'll tell you that. Why don't we take our final break and be right back in a couple of minutes and wrap things up right after this. Walter Hudson with us, Michael Bryan with us, and everybody in the family except for Alex. And where is she today?
Fawn
Working.
barfed 2 times last night, so I think they had to stay home with her.
There you
She
go.
gets sick a lot. Jeez.
That might be it. No question about it. All right, we'll take a break and be right back. You want me to do the live first, Andy?
If you wish.
I can do whatever you want is all I'm saying.
Why not?
Okay, here's the deal. You're listening. You're listening to me. You're listening to family. You're listening to our guests, of course. Your customers are listening as well. They'll hear me promote your business. Reach an engaged audience. The Tom Bernard Podcast attracts thousands of listeners who are loyal, engaged, and ready to support businesses they trust. Proven results. Very, very important, obviously. Our podcast has helped numerous businesses decrease traffic, sales, brand recognition. And we're not just about ads, though. We're about results. So that's a good thing. Whether you're a local business or a national brand, we offer custom advertising packages. They're designed to fit your needs and goals, which is very, very important. Our audience spans multiple demographics, allowing you to target your ideal customers with precision, from millennials to baby boomers, and, of course, everybody in between. With the broad reach of the show and passionate following, your business will see increased visibility and awareness, translating into more customers and sales. You ready to get started? Just visit tombernardshow.com, click on the partner tab, and let's discuss how we can work together to grow your business. Thank you. I'm talking with my friends Michael Bilski and Brad Huckle of North American Banking Company. Guys, business owners have had to deal with a lot over the last few years, haven't they?
They sure have, Tommy. We pride ourselves on being able to help our customers with the challenges they face.
Our business bankers are experts and are always ready to help our customers capitalize on opportunities and solve problems.
Loan decisions come quickly because they're made here in the Twin Cities and not shipped out of state like at some of the national banks in town.
This allows our customers to expand their businesses with confidence, knowing that they have our team of experts in their corner.
Okay, so now you give me this big thing at the end. Way to go.
Well, you are the professional.
Oh, I forgot. Look, I know Brad and Mike, and I trust them with my banking. They've personally delivered on everything they've just said, so why not bank with my banker? North American Banking Company, a better banking experience, member FDIC, equal housing lender. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Any results yet on the Pope? Does anybody know who it is?
Nope.
It won't be for a couple hours would be my
Oh, it'd be a
guess.
couple hours.
Oh yeah, but just they got a lot of cleanup to do before they get ready.
Well, I suppose
Clean up
that
all that smoke.
Oh,
Gotta go catch it.
One thing I will tell you about that
Had it
kind
for
of
a
thing.
couple days though. Sorry.
Yeah, it was yesterday was the
Yeah.
first vote. It's
Yeah, it was. Yep.
Yeah, they had another vote this morning, and then they came up with one today.
It was pretty
Yeah.
quick.
So this will be one of the
Really
leaders.
quick.
This won't be surprises.
This is one of those days where I have very fond memories of my childhood because my mother was a big time Roman Catholic, and my father was Protestant, but my mother was Roman Catholic. So guess who ruled the house? That would be the Catholics because it was my mother. But this kind of thing, I remember it happening a few times when I was a little boy, or a couple times as a little boy and a couple times as a young man. She would literally sit there wringing her hands to figure out who the Pope was going to be. I said, Mom,
Jeez.
you don't know the Pope. What do you care who they name the Pope?
Sounds like our elections these days.
Yeah,
Oh, God,
exactly
yeah.
right.
Everyone's throwing a fit about everything.
But I think that's the one reason, to tell you the truth, that I do talk about culture quite a bit, because I hope that never does go away. I know that people are supposed to come together and meld and, let's all get together and work together. Yes, I agree. Let's do that. But let's also talk about the very special things about certain people, whether it's, being Jewish or Catholic. Where I grew up, it was either Jewish or Catholic. That was pretty much the choice there. Got along with everybody, have fond memories of going into the delis and all the rest of it. I hope we never lose that part of it, that yes, we should all come together, but we still need to identify who we are, because it's, as a child and a young man, it was so important to me to go through all those things. I mean, does that still mean a lot to young people? I don't even know. Does it, Andy?
I mean, probably not as much as it used to.
No, I suppose not. You guys, you deal with, as an attorney and as a state rep, do you deal with younger people quite a bit, or is it mainly like middle-aged people? Or do you deal with all people?
in my role, I'm definitely dealing with everyone across the board, young and
Yeah.
old. What I've been struck by, like when I go to speak at a school or in front of a group of younger people, is how engaged they are, certainly
Good.
compared to what I remember being like. I don't remember at their age being nearly as informed or interested in public affairs or politics or issues. I think that social media and our kind of 24/7 news cycle has had a generational impact on getting people more interested in what's going on in the world, and that's probably a good thing.
Yeah. Michael, you deal with that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, our clients aren't any particular group or it's
Right.
all sorts of people get hurt. So we deal with all different levels. In some ways, you get more stuff because of social media or because of people's access that you have now. You got clients that show up with videotapes of what happened after their collision or actual videotapes of the collision that you never had before. There's good and bad to that. There's
Right.
There's a whole level of fake news that comes out in different areas, whether it's real news or not.
Yeah.
And so, and suddenly now people are scared of, a crime attack in, I don't know, some other place in the world. And that's, I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's different. There's more info out there, and I'm a proponent of people knowing more and being more. One more question I had for Walters. You came in with a decent amount of experience from outside the legislature. And that's always one of the big questions is career politicians versus people that come in with outside beliefs. How, now that you've been inside for a year and part of the system, how do you feel about that part of it?
Well, I think that there's virtue to both of those points, right? So it is very possible and often happens that people end up in kind of like a legislative bubble or a government bubble where they become detached from the day-to-day real lives of the people who they're supposed to serve. And that is definitely a danger that can be offset by somebody coming in who is an outsider, who doesn't have a lot of previous political experience. On the other hand, institutional knowledge is invaluable, like understanding how things work, what the legislative process looks like. And it really is a crash course for folks. I mean, first term members come in here with, they're told, they're given like the rundown more or less, but there are certain aspects and nuances of the process that you really have to learn through doing or seeing. And it takes a whole first term in order to do that. That's why Representative Greg Davids he doesn't talk to first term members policy. Like he basically, he's like, you guys don't know anything. So until you've at least been around here a term, I don't want to talk to you. And he's half joking about that, but that's the tension.
I like half joking. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, I've always thought that about Congress. It's like, wait a minute, 1 minute you're, a bartender, and the next minute you're making law. It just doesn't even make sense that there isn't like a period of learning and figuring this out before you can just make law.
You can't even legally become a lawyer without doing a lot of schooling.
Yeah.
But you can become a congressperson just, one day.
Right.
It's kind of weird.
It is kind
of
of
weird. Then again,
weird.
it's also like, who gets to determine what makes you a congressperson? Because it's like, okay, the Ivy League, you have to go to the Ivy League college to get on the House. Well, now 99% of people aren't ever going to become on the House.
Right.
So there's always a balance of like, who watches the Watchmen kind of thing.
That is true. My political life built from the time I was very, very young, and I've talked about this before, living in North Minneapolis, just off Plymouth Avenue. Plymouth and 4th Street, as a matter of fact. Well, we lived in like 30 different houses over the years that I lived in North Minneapolis. Didn't have a lot of money, let me put it that way. But this is an absolute fact, my first contact with a politician, I didn't even know what politics was until it was explained to me. And I won't say who it was. There's no reason to disparage the dead because the guy's dead. But there used to be these things in Minneapolis, North Minneapolis, called tippling houses. And tippling houses were, let's say, illegal sex, illegal drugs, illegal alcohol, illegal everything, right? And this guy who would later become vice president of the United States, used to go in there every Saturday.
Later become vice president. of the United States.
He did.
So it does narrow the field.
Well, there's a couple. There's a couple you can choose from. I mean, I didn't say he was from Minnesota. I just said he later became vice president.
Yeah, there's a guy from out the state that's coming to tippling houses in North Minneapolis.
Oh, I guarantee you they did that too.
Yeah, maybe if he's a senator from what, Idaho?
Yeah, there you go. But I remember watching that, and they would always go in there. He'd be in there about 10 minutes, and then he'd come out carrying a paper bag. And I asked somebody one time, what's in that paper bag? And they go, what the hell do you think's in that paper bag? Money. I'm like, oh, okay. So I am very grateful for the early life I got, adjusting to political views and politics and how the world turns, how the world. I mean, money does rule the world. It still does. Kath and I were just talking about that. Money, money, money. It's so important to people. It's actually kind of disgusting. You guys have to fight that a lot, both Walter and Mike. It is always about money, isn't it?
How much do you have to raise for your last campaign, Walter?
Oh, less than you imagine. Somewhere in I don't remember the number off the top of my head. But my first term, I think I raised something like $17,000 or $18,000. It very much depends on the district, right? Yeah. So, a more competitive district, you're going to have to raise a whole lot more money. But mine is what they call a safe district in terms of partisan balance. So.
Did you have much of a I'm trying to remember. Did you have much of a primary to begin with?
No. I've never. Yeah. So there was an endorsement challenge. It was the most cordial endorsement contest I've ever been privy to, because me and the other guy knew each other for a long time and are friends and worked together in the party, and so there was no animosity. And we prayed together before the convention, and it was totally unlike what you imagine a political contest being. But I got through that unscathed.
There you have it. Great having you both in at the same time, because I like it when people who might not agree on everything get along as well as we all did today. I love that when that happens. It doesn't happen very often anymore. People are just kind of stuck in their own.
I was hoping for a hockey fight.
Yeah, there you go. So thank you both for coming in. Walter, Michael, it's great to have you in. Of course, we'll be back again tomorrow for the Friday show. That's going to do it. Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Bye.
Yeah.
Got a picture in my pocket, reminds me of this one was before.